Greetings, dear viewers, ladies and gentlemen. This is our weekly AddisDialogue, which deals with current issues unfolding in Ethiopia. And in this connection, my guest today is Thaddeus Theodore Mamo, who has come all the way from the United States of America to Ethiopia. He is a student at the University of California, Santa Cruz, studying agroecology. He is Ethiopian Eritrean diaspora, born and raised in the United States of America. So we're going to talk about Ethiopia's Green Legacy Initiative and others along that line with the program. I'm Shafar Alako. Do stay with us. Teddy, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you so much for this opportunity. I'm very thankful for this and put a lot of hard work to get here. So, it's I'm very grateful for this and I feel the appreciation from this. So thank you.
Absolutely, absolutely. So before I jump into the meat of our discussion, can you tell me a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, so I'm born and raised in Los Angeles, California. I'm 21 years old. And so I go to the University of California, Santa Cruz, like you mentioned, studying agroecology. And the way I got to where I am today was I started an internship called SuperDAR, which is supporting undergraduate students by promoting education, research, and diversity through agricultural resilience. It's a USDA funded project, and I was started by studying degraded lands, and specifically I chose Ethiopia.
All right.
And so thank you to Dr. Karen Hall, who is my mentor. She studies restoration ecology, and I chose Ethiopia because of the major accomplishment that the Ethiopian government made by breaking the world record in 2019 by planting 350 million trees in less than 12 hours. So this coming to my radar, honestly, when I started, I didn't know much about Ethiopia's green environment and just what was going on. But just having this passion for my country and wanting to be a part of what goes on here is how I got to myself to where I am today.
Wow. So as you said, you are born and raised in the United States of America. So what does Ethiopia mean to people like you, to the first generation, to the second generation, and how are you supporting Ethiopia's endeavor in greening itself?
Well, growing up in the U.S., there's a lot of actually an identity crisis we have because either we're trying to figure out if we're a Black American, a foundational Black American, or are we African?
Right.
And so, in order for me to figure out my identity in 2019 is the first time I came to Ethiopia. Spent about 2 months here, and when I came back, I actually came to realize that I'm actually not very much alike the people here in Ethiopia. And so this was actually a wake up for me because I had to realize that I have to have my own individuality in my Ethiopianness, and we all have to. And through our individuality, we can come together.
Yeah.
And so now, as I come here, I make sure to stay with the locals. I actually stay right now in Debrecen with my aunt at my grandparents' house, and through my interactions with people along the streets, I feel a part with the people, and I make sure that I come down to their level so that they understand we're still human, and I'm still just like you, although I was given a different opportunity to be born somewhere else.
Yeah.
But if it were up to me, and now as I plan with my future, I plan to be living here in Ethiopia because I see Ethiopia as such a rich, wealthy, beautiful place with beautiful culture, and I'm very proud Ethiopian Eritrean man.
Yeah. How are you guys following new developments unfolding in Ethiopia? Are you that informed about Ethiopia, especially the second generation Ethio-American expats?
So really, where my way of finding out about Ethiopia's developments is through my father and through the actually older generations, and having a different perspective because I might not understand the past history of what goes on in Ethiopia.
Right.
So I get myself involved with conversations with my dad and his friends and trying to understand what's going on and reaching different perspectives. But one thing that I've done for myself is bringing myself here and seeing with my own eyes. So a lot of people like my dad and his friends, they don't have the opportunity like I do to come here to this country and to see what's going on. But by me coming here, and even just with my research, it's really been a blessing to show what the kind of development is going on, and just even the opportunities that there are for Ethiopian diaspora in the U.S. that we can come to Ethiopia and actually make a difference, whether it's for ourselves and our community.
Exactly. As you know, Ethiopia has spearheaded this exemplary Green Legacy Initiative, which has seen the planting of billions of trees, not only here in Ethiopia, but beyond the borders, which can make it, international, so to speak. So, as a researcher and as an agroecologist, how do you describe Ethiopia's efforts in this regard?
To start, when you look on the outside, it looks very ambitious. And actually, ambitious is what we need because Ethiopia is going through very heavy deforestation. But deforestation is a very slow decline that is very hard to see in a day and night issue. So having something like this shows the fact that we need to make a change in today's world. And so with the Green Legacy in the past 4 years, it's been very successful in the fact that we've created an awareness to people, not just here in Ethiopia, but also in the international community.
Right.
And the fact that we're even just, Ethiopia, as you know, does not produce that much carbon emissions to the climate change issue that's going on. But the amazing part is we've taken a major initiative to make a change to the world.
Yeah.
And I think this is a major statement to the world that, with although having little impact on the climate change, we can still have a lot of impact on bringing peace in this earth. And because especially with Ethiopia's growing population, this Green Legacy has created over 700,000 jobs. It's created awareness from youth to the older generations, and even for people like me. So I'm just very thankful to be a part of it.
Wow. Yeah. So Ethiopia's Green Legacy initiative, as you know, it goes beyond Ethiopia to the neighboring nations. So as such, I think we can call it international or continental.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how should neighboring nations shore up this noble cause of greening a nation such as Ethiopia or respective countries? Yeah.
So I've spoken with the Dr. Adafir Eswerku, who's actually the National Technical Coordinator of the Green Legacy.
Yeah.
And Prime Minister Dr. Abiy, his vision actually is for this to move into actually a Pan-African movement. As you know, there's a great green wall that's currently going on that's involved 11 different countries.
Exactly.
But this Green Legacy is more about regreening Africa actually. And starting here with a major ambition is actually what we need to see, because a lot of hope is being lost right now in Africa, and we need to bring that back. And it's in our opportunity, us as young people, we're very hopeful. And so we need to keep on to fuel this, and this is why it's a green legacy, to create a legacy that we can carry on. And so neighboring countries can help by asking what are their needs, looking around their country, bringing awareness to this green culture, and seeing that, of course, there's different trees that will be planted in different areas, but these conversations need to be started. And by connecting with researchers here and by connecting with researchers also in the US, like what I've been doing, is really what's going on, where we can create a global community that will bring major green change in Africa, which is very much needed at this moment and in the future.
Yeah. I'm sure that you've been following this. Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed has been awarded for this outstanding accomplishment of greening Ethiopia by spearheading such noble initiative, Ethiopia's Green Legacy initiative, not only for greening Ethiopia but the neighboring countries, as we covered it earlier. So what does this mean to the Prime Minister, to Ethiopia, and also to the continent of Africa, in your view, as an agroecologist and as an Ethiopian, as an American as well?
Well, as a human, actually, just to start, if you look at how they even initiated and mobilized people in planting by, after voting was done during the elections, 30 minutes after people were, there was a saying where we vote and we plant. Mm-hmm. And so this actually created a very peaceful way of going about political movements. And this is something that I think that other neighboring countries and countries in Africa could take note of, the fact that we can find a way to connect our political motives and our environmental motives and creating peace in the two. And so this is actually, a very big accomplishment that the international community needs to take more awareness of. And actually, coming from the US, there's been not as much publicity about this.
Yeah.
And so this is why I had to come here myself and see it with my own eyes. And now that I've not only talked to the people, I'm currently working at ILRI, the International Livestock Research Institute, with certain researchers. I work at ECRAF and C4, which is a World Agroforestry Center, like Dr. Abraham. Working with these people, you understand and you see the faces behind who's actually making this change. And from the top to the bottom, and then talking to even the farmers, this is what's needed. And so I think it's an amazing accomplishment. Like I said, I'm very thankful to be a part of this, and just for the fact that I've spoken to farmers and allowed to empower their voices.
Right. So, of course, you touched it earlier. Ethiopia is one of the developing nations that can contribute the least to the impacts of climate change. Mm-hmm. On the other hand, it is spearheading its green legacy initiative via its climate resilient green economy. On the other hand, there are these developed nations, as you know, that are notorious, so to speak, for the issues when it comes to climate change. How can they support Ethiopia, and how exemplary can Ethiopia's efforts be to that?
Well, I think actually it starts with the people at the bottom. That's mostly how we can get things done. Yeah. By talking to the farmers and understanding what are their needs and what are they experiencing. When you see with your eyes and you feel their issues, then there's a motivation that you bring to the work that you're doing. And right now, the people who are leading a lot of the climate change issues are the people at the top who don't have to suffer from the issues, who have the ability to move away and change where they live. But really it starts by talking to these farmers and talking to the local communities. And when you get to see and you get to feel not the pain, but just how much they love their country and how they're... I went to Awasa earlier. I was here this summer.
Okay.
And I got to speak to some security guards that were protecting a green legacy site. And I asked them what was their incentive into being a part of this green legacy. For them, it's their land. It's they not only do they receive a little bit of a salary, but this is their home. So they're extremely passionate to protect their land and to see it change in a better way. So I think that neighboring countries that have the technology, that have the media, that can come down and talk to these farmers and just talk to the local communities and put this on a global scale, I think this is really how we bring awareness. And awareness is really how we start. So by bringing awareness, the next steps, honestly, are taken by the professionals and where we should go next.
I'm glad that you raised awareness. So as an Ethiopian and as an American, how are you going to raise the awareness of especially the diaspora communities about Ethiopia when it comes to those Ethiopian expats that are not that familiar with the positive sides, with the positive developments of Ethiopia?
Well, I mean, to start with my research, I'm currently working on, this is for my senior thesis project, and I'll actually be publishing a paper about my research into a scientific journal once I graduate. Okay. So this is one of the ways that I start, but the other ways is I've been fortunate to bring some of my family through my research, and just having them, for me, I'm very happy, honestly, to just have them see that, what's going on. And then on top of that, through this interview, for example, I'm very thankful for that I can bring it back to, because I didn't have this opportunity, for example, in the US, but here I come to Ethiopia and I get to have my voice and power, but I'm here because I understand that this is bigger than me. And now when I go back, actually, back in the US, I also work it's called an Ed Equity team, where we have a farm at our school, and one of my responsibilities is to interview students, BIPOC students, and understanding what they think about our program. And I've spoken to, there's been some Ethiopian born in Ethiopia who come to the US. They didn't know about these opportunities, about agroecology even being a thing, and even just the fact that I took my own initiative to come to Ethiopia and do this. So when they see that this is possible, when they see the opportunity, it's really how they bring their hope. And the next step is just putting myself forward and giving back to these kids that I wish I was born maybe here, but the fact is I'm thankful for where I am at the end of the day. So by paying it forward is empowering these voices and making sure the diaspora understand that we belong here, we belong there, we belong here, and we belong everywhere.
Yeah. You know what? I'm raising this question because, as you know, Ethiopia is known for something negative like hunger or conflicts, things like that. On the flip side of the coin, when you see Ethiopia, the other side is, pioneering green legacy initiative, things like that. That's why I'm asking you this question.
And I totally agree. Even when I'm in the U.S. and I tell people I'm going to Ethiopia, there's still people who are shocked the fact that there's internet or that there's even houses. And to be honest with you, where I live in the U.S., I live a better lifestyle here in Ethiopia, whether it's the food, whether it's the fact of the community, and it's through my being here, and I actually have started a YouTube where I dedicate it to my younger self and the youth, and understanding that Ethiopia is honestly, to me, the most beautiful place in the world. And it's for the fact that there's so much opportunity to bring change. And us as diaspora, we have so much opportunity to get in with we have the opportunity for the fact to just buy a ticket and to leave, right? And so to be able to come in, I chose purposely to stay in Debrecen to understand what's going on here. And then when we go back to our lives where we may have more material, now I'm more grateful and I understand the opportunities that I have. And now that I'm aware of the opportunities I have, now I can use them in a higher light.
Exactly.
And then by coming back here and just creating this connection between the two countries. And it goes beyond the US. There's, Ethiopian diaspora all over the world. And so I'm actually very excited to see what Ethiopian diaspora around the world would love to bring to Ethiopia.
Yeah, let me take you back to the issues of climate change and things like that. How should developed nations pay Ethiopia properly when it comes to reducing carbon dioxide emissions? Because this East African nation is taking the lead in greening itself and the continent as well. So how should they shore up this noble cause? What's your take on that?
On the economic side, I'm not too very well versed, but one thing I do know is that the Green Legacy has created a really green economy going on in Ethiopia. Forestry used to just be more of an environmental factor, but now is moving into actually an economic sector. And so, for example, in the US, we have a very strong forestry sector that's going on. And that's actually what I'm trying to do, is create connections between my university and Ethiopia, and to see what kind of knowledge transfer that can go on. And in the sense of economic development, I think that first the conversation needs to be happening, and the fact that Ethiopia is actually making a difference. And that needs to be seen from the international community. And once that's seen, I think it's taken over by the professionals.
As an Ethiopian, as an American, as a diaspora member, if you like, what is your message to fellow Ethiopians, be it here or overseas, when it comes to helping Ethiopia in different aspects that this East African nation is aspiring to accomplish?
To start with a little story, not long ago this week, I was getting my shoes cleaned in Debrecen, and when I started, I asked the man if he had a brush, if he could brush my shoes. He said he didn't have a brush. And so I just began to talk to him. I asked him, how's his day? And through that, I realized that he knew my neighborhood. He actually knew my grandmother. As he got to see that we're on the same level, we're both humans, then he actually had a brush, and he actually really cleaned my shoes. And still to this day, I haven't had my shoes cleaned like that. So it starts with us coming down to understand that we are the same.
Yeah.
And that's really my message. That's
really what matters.
That's what matters. Yeah. But we have to show that we are the same, and that we just have different opportunity. And I actually learn so much from the people here through their struggles, but through their happiness, through having what you can say, not as much material, but just culture and having conversation. Because in the US, we lack conversation. We lack just calling each other. We lack to just say, I love you. But here in Ethiopia, it's very easy to say, Awaddahallo, or Malakam Kan, So these kind of things, and just being human at the end of the day, is really what I think is my message, that we have to remember that's where we are that's who we are at the beginning of the day.
Exactly, being human, especially when it comes to Ethiopia, which is the source of humanity.
Thank you. Exactly.
Thaddeus Theodore Mamo, thank you so much, and good luck on your research.
Thank you so much for this opportunity, and I really appreciate this, and I wish you the best.
Well, dear viewers, thank you so much for having been with us so far. Until I see you next time with another program, it's goodbye from me, Shfaralak.